This is very much burning my fingers to do this. Hey y'all, so today I figured we'd do a little bit of a different setup for our review. Now, I got these lovely DJI mics for Christmas, and I'm gonna sit here and have this boiling cup of coffee and talk to you about Quantamania. You've been warned, spoilers ahead. Yeah, let's grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, whatever suits your fancy, and let's chat. So first and foremost, Quantamania is a 2023 film released on February 17th, directed by Peyton Reed, who has directed both the other Ant-Man films. It feels like an original, an early Marvel film. Again, it feels the same to me as does Ant-Man 1, but we're kind of quickly given the issue and the task of the movie. And I will say that this movie is very short. It is under 2 hours. It is an hour and 50 minutes-ish. And that's kind of astonishing for a Marvel movie, but I think this is proof, because if you remember my Wakanda Forever review, I said that I felt the movie suffered from being allowed to be too long, because you could kind of go off on different tangents and not really hold yourself to that 90-minute or slightly above 90-minute runtime. Whereas this movie, in 110-ish minutes, I think, if I'm doing my math correctly, wow. However, I will admit that the beginning is probably the worst part for me. There is a bumpy start. It's like driving on a flat tire, to be quite honest. At the beginning of the movie, Cassie is building this quantum realm radio, basically, or satellite to signal down, which of course is what gets them into trouble. I thought she was building it because, she's a teenager now and she keeps thinking about all those years she lost with her dad, and if for some reason anyone ever got trapped in the quantum realm again, she'd want a means to get them out. So that was my interpretation, but once I talked to my fiance on the drive home, I realized that he thinks that she's been working on that in the entire 5 years that Scott was gone and whatever plus to get us to this time frame. Of course, Marvel is never too specific about their timelines because they don't want to have to stick to it. To me, it really is an issue if she's been working on this for 5 years because, one, why? No one even knew he was down there. Everyone thought he was dead. So, there wasn't a thought that, Scott is trapped in the quantum realm. A rat had to get him out. So you're telling me a rat had to get him out instead of his own daughter or anyone else in the family who potentially knew he was down there. Does not make a whole lot of sense to me, but fine, okay? So that could be a critique. I'm not really gonna hold this against the movie. I will say, I'll just get it off the bat, Janet annoyed me, this movie, okay? The whole time she's like, I'm not gonna tell you what's going on, just be quiet, we need to get there. And it felt like the movie was telling the audience, shut up, we're not gonna tell you, we clearly have some long monologue coming that's gonna explain everything. But instead of making it make sense story-wise, why she actually physically doesn't have the chance to, they're fighting something. She doesn't have the chance to tell them what's going on. She's just don't go to the quantum realm, I told you to stay away from the quantum realm. And then they end up in their huge situation. And it feels a little bit like a children's movie in that particular story note. They all know the quantum realm is dangerous. They've all been to the quantum realm before, except for Cassie. My other thing was, okay, if Hank and Janet also got dusted in Avengers Endgame, okay? And so, right, the rat had to get Scott out. Okay, why is Cassie calling him grandpa? Unless you're trying to insinuate to me that it's been a year since the blip and Scott and Hope got married, and now she's just referring to him as grandpa, because that bothered me. The other thing that bothered me throughout this movie, why was Hank referred to as Henry? I've been informed because I'm dumb, that Hank is a shortening of Henry. However, they call him Hank when they're not in the quantum realm, and then they call him Henry in the quantum realm. And I don't know if that's it's weird to me. I don't understand why that was such an emphasis. And it wasn't some people are calling him Henry, some people are calling him Hank, because I was trying to distinguish okay, does Janet call him Henry? But no, then Scott referred to him as Henry, and I was like, this has never happened before. So little inconsistencies like that, I'm calling him grandpa, but you haven't told me that Hope and Scott have, we all know they're in love and together and whatever, but I don't know, that just felt weird. Cassie doesn't know this man. She's known this man max a year or 2 years, which I know in a family setting like that could be enough to call you grandpa. Or maybe it's just a joke. I don't know, but again, it's stuck up here and I have to spill it out here. But once you get us to the quantum realm, we're off and running. I'm having a good time. Bill Murray's cameo was great. I guess it wasn't really a cameo. I think that was in a trailer or something. I also loved seeing the actor that plays Chidi Adegboye from Good Place. He was so good and so funny. I really liked kind of the band of characters that we met in the quantum realm. They all had kind of their little points in the story, whether it was to give you a little bit of exposition or to kind of be a redemption arc for Cassie, the one warrior type woman. I thought that was great. I just really loved getting to see that cast of characters and, you know, see what they're going through as people who live in the quantum realm. The jury's still out on Cassie, okay? I think she's cute. I love baby Cassie. Oh, adorable. And I do like the tension that they put here between her and her dad, because like her dad hasn't always been able to be around. And so she feels this immense sense of independence, and he's trying to, like, you know, coddle his baby girl, like his child. And so I liked that tension, but I do feel like at times she just came across as bratty. And maybe it's because we're all like adults, like, girl, your dad's trying to be here for you now, like you need to chill out. MODOK is great. You know, I love the way that they take Darren from the original Ant-Man movies and kind of weave him in there. Like, I thought that was such a nice touch, because this is the part of it that feels like quality MCU rather than just like another addition to the canon, is when you take villains like MODOK, who's been known before, but you kind of make him a specific connection rather than just throwing him in like spice in the movie. And then additionally, when you have a villain that we're about to get to who is such a menacing big bad, and you show us like a development rather than just giving us this like random quantum realm baddie that like is never gonna pop up again, that doesn't matter, that we don't get a full backstory of, that's kind of has a weak motive or premise, and you just throw them in there. Like, now we get to potentially my favorite part of Quantamania. Can you guess? 3, 2, 1, it's King. Are we surprised? No. Anyone that has seen Jonathan Majors basically in anything knows that the man can act with a capital A, right? He knows what he's doing. But in this film, he is so incredibly menacing. Like, it only gets more psychologically menacing when you realize that, like, this man is planning to take out the Avengers. Like, this man, 5 years from now, he's gonna eat it up, no crumbs, to quote. Oh, I just realized I talk like that SNL skit. He's gonna take them out, no issue, no problem. The man has power unbeknownst to the MCU so far, okay? I just love a villain that literally gives me chills. You know, like, that fully makes me sweat, panic. Are they gonna get out of this? I know a lot of people were speculating that Scott was gonna die in this movie, and I'm sure a major critique, although I don't really look at that many other people's critiques of movies that I like, to be quite frank, I don't. I could see potentially people being like, there's no way that Scott escapes an Avengers level threat. I think the way that it's handled in the movie, with kind of receiving help from Hope and getting the portal out and sort of the rebellion, I think all those elements are baked into the story really well, where everything doesn't like, it's not like a Deus Ex Machina moment. I don't feel like that. I feel like we're building towards that the whole movie. I was kind of disappointed in Multiverse of Madness that we didn't get more of an explanation of how the multiverse actually works, how travel across the multiverse works, like, how do you know if something is a multiverse or a different universe, kind of like what the rules of the multiverse are. Like, we heard about incursions a little bit more, and I'm sure we'll get more with Loki, which, holy crap, I don't want to be the person that's like, go see the movie just for the post-credit scene, but the post-credit scene with Loki, I audibly gasped and grabbed Christian's arm. That was the perfect post-credit scene for this movie. King is just such a phenomenal villain. Some of our great villains in the MCU only have a one-movie run, and I get that that's kind of the format of a superhero film. But I think part of the reason that Thanos is so menacing is because we kind of see his evolution in the background while everything's going on in Avengers world. We kind of see some of his minions, we see what he's done to Gamora, and I think that's a really effective building of a villain. However, I think you can't do the same thing twice, and so to have King come along, I just thought, wow, like, this is so cool. And I like the fact that, like, the reason for him being in the quantum realm as a banishment, and the reason that he's not like actively attacking everyone, it makes sense. So I appreciated that, because I do think some of this movie introduced a few more questions than answers, but it was kind of in regard to like the Lang, Pym, Van Dyne family dynamic, and like where they've been, and like why certain things feel like they're not canonical or like canonically correct or something. But I just thought King was phenomenal, Jonathan Majors was phenomenal, like, you just feel it. And a great point that Christian pointed out to me as we're watching the movie is when he speaks, like, a lot of Marvel villains even are kind of quippy with their humor, or they match the comedic tone of some of the movies, so like they don't really give monologues, like they kind of say something, or they're talking pretty fast to give a monologue. King talks with such slowness and assuredness. Like, he'll stop just because he has the power and ability to stop what he's saying and not have somebody interject. Like, I loved the way that that was handled. Like, it's almost like his power radiates around him in his words, to the point that Scott can't just like cut him sideways with a little bit of a a little bit of a jab or a little bit of a joke. Like, that doesn't work here. I just thought that was done so well in like the subconscious building of a villain. Here's my quick theory on how this movie should have ended, or like my revised ending. Kang's gonna get out, but the quantum realm, as we know, as it's said every single time, time and space don't function the same, like blah, blah, blah. And I feel like this movie took a real cop-out by not having any time pass. Like, by the time they get back, it seems like it was the same day, or like the next day, or something. Which, okay, fine. Like, they were down there, maybe that's why the movie's short, right? They're down there canonically for, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't even technically be an hour because you take all the storylines and condense them. But I'm kind of talking this through. I'm kind of explaining this to myself here. I thought they're going to get out, Kang's going to fall out of a portal, but they're going to be in 2025 and they're going to pop out and that's when Secret Wars starts. Like, I thought that they were going to kind of do, instead of being like Thanos, he's in the background, nobody really knows what's going on unless you read the comics and like you know what's coming and you know what they're building towards. I thought it was going to be like, here's your conflict, but for the next couple years of movies, you're safe from this guy, which maybe was a good pass as well, because if there's like a random singular villain in any TV show or movie, which we know there will be, maybe that doesn't make as much sense why they're like concerned, but it's also kind of like the big bad hasn't shown up yet, which now I'm going to be like, I guess it did take Kang like 30 years or something to even get this far, and he kind of only got as far as he did because the Lang, Pym, Van Dyne family came down and found the core and like that sort of thing. And that's kind of where my major question with the film lies, is like, so how much time did this take in the quantum realm? Like, again, I get that we can't like quantify the quantum realm and like figure out exactly how long we were down there, but like also you figured out how to time travel. Tony Stark's science exists. Like, everyone knows about the time heist. Why don't we just give that to Hank Pym, another incredibly intelligent person, and have that figured out? Like, I think that was the thing, is like Marvel relies so heavily on incredibly intelligent, smart, beyond our understanding characters. And I love that because I love that it's kind of become a place for like nerdy people to like find heroes who like don't necessarily have to be strong and brawny. Like, they can be powerful because of their brains and their minds. Exactly what I just talked about with the villains, right? But then we throw, and this is gonna seem very like anti-girl power of me, but when Cassie is just introduced as like, oh yeah, no one's ever been able to contact the quantum realm before, like no, never, not like a thing, like our family has been dealing with this for several years, like the Avengers even don't fully understand this, but Cassie's like, oh yeah, I just made a satellite, oh yeah, I'm just so smart that I figured this out. And then the other thing is like, okay, so then she, again, did she build this in the 5 years that they've all been gone? How long has it been since they blipped back? I guess I like the fact that there's certain characters within the MCU that are intelligent, and I don't like this kind of across the board that all these characters are just like, they're the smartest girl ever. These are my thoughts on Quantumania. Please let me know your reaction to the film in the comments down below. Spoilers are of course allowed because this is of course a spoiler-free review. I hope you like this new little format. I think for Marvel movies, it's just hard to not talk about the spoilers, and I don't want to do it, you know, twice, because this is way more enjoyable to just like really get into the nitty-gritty of the movie. So I love you guys very much. Please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of these reviews in the future, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, y'all.